Evers says he's not telling them to obstruct or violate federal law, as Republicans claim.
Wait to see what's coming.
When Tom Homan says, wait to see what's coming, you might want to pay attention. In fact, the governor of Wisconsin is definitely paying attention. He even thinks that threat was guided towards him, and he might potentially get arrested for obstruction or telling state employees to obstruct ICE agents. Let's dig into this because this is very serious.
Memo to state employees who may encounter ICE agents is drawing backlash. The memo essentially gives state employees a playbook to abide by. For example, ask for their name, badge, while they're there, why they're there, and don't give access to files, and call their attorney or supervisor. Evers says he's not telling them to obstruct or violate federal law, as Republicans claim.
Please leave your comments down below how you feel about this memo. I just have to point this out. Do not answer questions, including when an agent asks about someone you know or presents a warrant with an individual name.
That's baloney. The only thing ICE can do what ICE wants to do. Only thing I want is that if they come to a place of work, that an employee that is being wants to be talked to by ICE and bring their attorney there.
Now look, when it comes to obstruction, we are already seeing judges charged with obstruction by literally sneaking illegal immigrants out the back door of the courtroom. But Tom Homan, this is what he has to say about this particular case.
And well, real quick, your comments on the Wisconsin governor sending directives to state agencies to not comply with ICE and actually stop your deportation efforts.
Wait to see what's coming.
Any updates on the military?
I meant what I said. You can not support what we're doing. And you can support sanctuary cities if that's what you want to do. But if you cross that line of impediment or knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien, that is a felony. And we're treated as such.
Now, the governor of Wisconsin truly believes this is a threat to arrest him. I would love nothing more than to play you guys the response he has for Tom Homan, but due to legal issues, you know how this stuff works, I cannot play you guys the full response. Thankfully, we have a quote. Yesterday, a Trump administration official, in not so many words, apparently threatened to arrest me for distributing guidance that asked state agency employees to consult with an attorney if federal agents show up at state buildings with legal documents. Again, he truly believes this is a threat to arrest him.
And he told us he's got a message for sanctuary cities. The more they're going to double down or triple down, we're going to ramp it up more. We're going to make sure that we're doing all we can do to bring our law enforcement resources to that jurisdiction, and we're going to take care of those public safety threats. If you don't want to work with us, we're going to handle the problem.
What I said from day one, you can sit aside and watch, you can argue against us all you want and protest all you want, but when you cross that line, I've said this 1,000 times, when you cross that line to impediment or knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien from ICE, you will be prosecuted.
Now look, this video could be 1 hour long with the amount of clips that are out there of Tom Homan warning people about obstruction, especially obstructing ICE agents. This is the definition of obstruction, and you guys can leave your comments down below how you feel about this definition and what the governor of Wisconsin is doing. The crime of obstructing a law enforcement officer is defined under state law as when a person willfully hinders, delays, or obstructs any law enforcement officer in the discharge of his or her official powers or duties.
They're all being investigated, and we're going to hold people accountable. What the Biden administration did, especially Mayorkas, was treasonous. What they did to our border. And we're going to investigate the NGOs. You know, all these, they made billions of dollars complicit in alien smuggling and human trafficking. So we know these contracts were not done the proper way. We know a lot of relationships resulted in billions of dollars being handed to these NGOs. I got the promise from my friends on the Hill that we're going to do a thorough investigation and hold those accountable who broke the law. That stuff stops, and we're not going to pay $500 a night for a bed through an NGO when we're going to put them in an ICE bed, $117 a night. But That's going to be fully investigated. People will be held accountable. We're not letting this go. We'll be looking at everybody that was involved with this tragedy on the border and hold them accountable.
So as you can see, the warning is expanded beyond just a governor or beyond just some judges, even non-government organizations, as far as, are they making money from all of these illegal immigrants, and who is allowing it, especially if it's $500+ to sleep at an NGO compared to an ICE facility that's $118. Something is going on. So I just wanted to point out, Tom Homan is even representing, or at least talking about, this is expanded beyond just a couple of these governors or judges. We have to talk about all of this, everyone involved with the entire situation when it comes to illegal immigration.
I debate this point because I understand your point, and you and I have a disagreement about these individual district court judges, but when you think about what's happened in this country, millions of people have come in. It's the biggest invasion in the history of the United States. We've never been invaded this way, number one. Scott. These illegal aliens, and they are predatory. It is an incursion. And I would ask you to ask any of the families who've lost loved ones if they think maybe that we are at war with the people who have come here, who have committed violent acts, who have murdered people, who have raped people, who have human trafficked people. It is a disaster what's happened in this country, and the president is trying to pull every lever that's on the books to take care of it, and these individual judges are overstepping. What you're essentially saying is that the president, who is the commander-in-chief, cannot determine when we are being invaded. An individual district court judge is going to decide that? No, thank you.
Now look, if we're going to be self-critical here, even Republicans are having a little bit of an issue of trying to convey the point of what exactly is going on. Because when we think about the enemies of the United States, we think, well, they're overseas, like they're over in the Middle East, maybe some in Southeast Asia, when at the end of the day, let us remember, a lot of these groups are designated as foreign terror organizations that are currently within the United States. So again, this is foreign territory for everybody to let Americans know, just so you are aware, the enemies of the United States are not only on our border, they are currently inside of the United States.
So wait, can I just ask a simple question? Who gets to decide whether the United States is at war
the
or
president,
not?
in my opinion.
No.
If we're being invaded,
Actually,
I want the commander-in-chief to know.
Scott, no. It's actually the Congress.
You're asking if we're being invaded.
I'm asking.
You want to call Congress and see if we're being invaded?
I'm asking a basic constitutional
We'll be taken over
question.
before they ever get to the committee.
Who gets to decide whether the United States is at war? The answer is Congress.
I'm talking about if we're being
invaded.
invaded.
When the president says we're at war, he has to
show we're actively
proof,
at war,
and
not
really
a
what he needs to do is go to Congress.
Well, you guys
and
discuss it in committee. We'll let in another 20
Wait a second, though.
And look, this is the very gray area, because it's true. Congress do get to declare we are officially at war, yet you have situations like Yemen or situations in Africa or Southeast Asia where we are fighting an asymmetrical warfare where, you know, we're not technically at war. However, the president does have the powers to either initiate possibly an airstrike or possibly move more personnel to engage the enemies of the United States. So again, the days of we are in a conventional war, maybe those might be behind us. But it is true, Congress does get to technically say whether we are in a legal or an official war, but I just want to point out a lot of our current affairs are very asymmetrical, or also known as possibly guerrilla warfare.
District wants me to speak out and be loud and be proud at all times. But you know what? We've got lots of great opportunities. And so I'm looking forward to some of the things that we're going to do on oversight as we continue to push back against this administration. Now that we know that they are doing things such as, you know, snatching people off the streets and throwing them down in what I would consider to be concentration or prisons, and these are people that haven't been convicted of anything.
Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. The other really big issue is that you have members of government, Democrats, who are going on left-leaning news organizations, and they are promoting the ideology of, well, they are an illegal immigrant, but they haven't really committed a crime. However, the totality of the media seems to be a very big issue for Stephen Miller of the Trump administration.
Most of your papers never covered her story when it happened. To the extent that you covered it at all, it was because President Trump forced you to cover it by highlighting it repeatedly over and over again. He had to shame you into covering it. And each and every one of you that sides over and over again with these MS-13 terrorists, to the extent that you have the financial means to do so, you all choose to live in condos or homes or houses as far away from these kinds of gangbangers as you possibly can. If I offered any one of you a rent-free home with no taxes to pay in any of these gang neighborhoods, and I said your neighbors are MS-13 terrorists or Mexican mafia or Sinaloa cartel or Tren de Aragua, I couldn't pay you to live there. But yet you, with your coverage, are trying to force innocent Americans to have these people as their neighbors, and that one day their daughter may be abducted from their home and murdered. So you're not going to get an ounce of sympathy from this administration or President Trump for the terrorists who've invaded our homes and our country.
Looking at the complaint, let's strip the politics out of it. This is a crime. If they can prove what happened here, it is a crime. This judge, let's strip the Trump of it all out. Let's strip the immigration of it all out. Let's say law enforcement shows up at a building with an arrest warrant. They're looking for person A. Person B then says, hey, there's a secret escape door out back. I'm going to show you the way, and then ushers that person out the back door. That is textbook obstruction.
Now look, circling back to the governor of Wisconsin, we don't know how black and white this is going to be if the Trump administration does want to arrest the governor of Wisconsin. What I mean by that is we know that the judges who are being arrested or charged for obstruction, it was very black and white. They had an illegal immigrant, they snuck him out the back of the courtroom and then outside. We know that is obstruction or at least impediment. But when it comes to this case, again, the Trump administration is going to have to prove that there is legit intention to impede on the Trump administration or ICE agents to stop the agents from doing their investigations as far as apprehending an illegal immigrant. Again, we don't know what evidence the Trump administration has behind the scenes, but I do want to point out, like I said at the very beginning of the video, if Tom Homan is smirking and say, wait and see what happens, probably they got something cooking.
Well, first of all, the president has said he will follow the Supreme Court's decisions. He's always said that about all of these cases. They may have some differences of opinion about the rendering of certain decisions and how to handle and implement certain decisions, but the president has always said he's going to follow the decisions. Now, I do think that these individual district court judges that are being selectively shopped by people who oppose the president, trying to issue nationwide injunctions and stop the president from governing, I think that's a real problem. I mean, it's a constitutional crisis, in my opinion, for these individual district court judges to try to tie up Donald Trump. I mean, it's obvious what they're trying to do, which is to run out the clock until he's no longer in office. It's sort of what the Democrats did the first time around. They don't want him to be able to govern. Now, the Supreme Court, as you pointed out in the polling, people have a lot of respect for it, and so does President Trump. So I really do think that if he's allowed to govern, if he's allowed to do the things that he ran on, if he's allowed to continue to, deport illegal aliens, if he's allowed to continue to do the things he told the American people he was going to do, he'll be fine. But the truth is he's running into a wall of resistance in some of these individual federal district court judges. And I think the Congress honestly needs to step in, or the Supreme Court needs to step in, because it's not right what they're doing to this presidency.
All right, if you are still watching this video, I really do appreciate it. I am so curious to see what the response is going to be against the governor of Wisconsin. Maybe the Trump administration is just trying to scare him. Maybe there are other judges that are going to be arrested. We have no idea. We don't know what's in the back pocket of the Trump administration. Like the same thing happened with Kilmar Obrego Garcia, where Democrats were so on board with him and the Trump administration said, we have all of this evidence against him. Nobody saw the evidence. Now that we see the evidence, a lot of people are turning on Kilmar Obrego Garcia and the Democrats. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Thank you guys for everything. God bless, and we'll see you all later.